It's the Battleship USS Iowa here in San Pedro, California. Also located next to the cruise ships.
Oh, there we go. I'm very short. Thanks. Appreciate that. We're here at the USS Iowa battleship here in San Pedro Harbor. Beautiful day.
It is a beautiful day.
Stunning.
So yeah, we're going to take a quick tour around the battleship.
Yeah.
And come along with us.
Love a battleship. Let's do it.
Okay. So up here at the bow of the Iowa, we've got these anchor chains right here. Each of these anchor chains weighs almost 150 pounds. Each link weighs almost 150 pounds, and is each about 1,000 feet long, with a 30,000 pound anchor at the end. A nice little view of the harbor. It's a beautiful day here in San Pedro.
Oh, I didn't know this.
What's that?
The Panama Canal is 110 feet wide, and the Iowa class ships were designed to fit through the canal just barely.
Let's continue the tour.
Yeah.
We're next to the number 2 Bravo forward turret on the Iowa. The Iowa was hit by enemy fire twice during the bombardment off of Mili Atoll during the Marshall Islands campaign. One of the shot location hits is right there, and we can see a white arrow where it was hit. Sustained no significant damage. So we'll continue our tour to the next level. We're here in the officers' wardroom. This is where the ship's officers would eat their meals. Also used as a first aid station during battle. The Iowa's complement would be 130 officers at max during World War II, and about 65 officers during the Cold War. It's also where they would host visiting dignitaries and so on and so forth. A more relaxed social area over here in the corner.
These are some plates and some menus from the Iowa, and I am obsessed with old menus. Absolutely. The train menus, the old plane menus, I am obsessed. Look at this, Christmas dinner, 1953. Amazing. I want to know what golden clove salad is. It's probably one of those horrible like 1950s salads that is not a salad. It's probably like Jello and like aspic or something. I will look it up and let you know.
This is the executive officer's stateroom. The XO is the second in command of the ship. Comes with its own private bathroom, or head in Navy speak, with its shower. So, pretty prime. Here we can see two of the Iowa's 5-inch secondary turrets.
Greg, look, an actual danger zone.
Lana!
I feel like when we were at the National Military Vehicle Museum, we got to see some of these cut away, which was incredibly interesting, and now we're kind of getting to see them in place, and I think that's just a really neat experience to get to see those.
This is the 03 level flag bridge. So this is a bridge dedicated to the admiral if it was operating as a flagship. So this wasn't involved with navigation or daily activities of the ship. It was just a place for the admiral to be able to hang out and observe. So this is a below the ship's normal navigation bridge. But got a chair right there, and then we have an armored conning tower. You can see some of the vision slots through the armored part. In contrast to her three sister ships, Iowa was actually built as a task force command ship. And here we have where the admiral's staff offices. So this is where they would plot relocations of the entire fleet that he was in charge of. We're now entering the ship's bridge. This is the daily operations and navigation of the ship. Has another armored conning tower. A little better view of this one. And then here we have the actual navigation part of the ship. The thickness of those walls. Seems such a small area for the navigation of a ship this size. That's a nice view. So you got the modern day phalanx system added right there. It's a Gatling gun with radar to shoot down incoming missiles. Obviously added during the 1980s, something retrofit. And here we have the 5-inch fire control system. It's for the secondary guns. These little guys down here, which we saw a little bit earlier. Another phalanx over there. There are 4 of these directors on the Iowa.
Did you hear me? They call this R2D2, and you can kind of see it.
You can see it. So, yeah, like you probably picked up before, the USS Iowa is not ADA. Yeah, if you're in a wheelchair, you're definitely not getting around here. But it shouldn't be a problem for anybody that can at least climb a really steep set of stairs. Here's the Tomahawk missile launchers over here. Here we are. Again, another obviously 1980s refurb edition. Obviously, these are Tomahawk missile launchers. We're here on the aft missile deck. So during the 1984 conversion, restoration, refurb, when the battleships were adjusted from their World War II configuration to mid-80s modern configuration, they removed 4 of the 10 secondary 5-inch turrets we saw earlier. So there's only 6 instead of 10 now. And they added, to make way for some missile launchers, among other things. So this is the aft missile launchers for Tomahawk missiles. So you can see there it's stored in an armored box. And then this platform would be elevated to launch. And we saw some earlier right over there. And there's also, we can see right here in between, are some of the Harpoon missile launchers. Oops, sun. These are more of a shorter range system right there. A refurb that also added the R2D2s, as we saw earlier. Try to take pictures from the other side of the ship. That was a glare right there. See right here? Yeah, right here is one of the rangefinders for the 16-inch main guns. The stereoscopic rangefinder is one mounted forward and one aft. It's just the aft one right here. See another display of the Harpoon missile launchers. Oops. Turn camera, that's the Tomahawk over there. Here is the Harpoon launchers right here with an actual Harpoon missile right here. Another view of one of the secondary 5-inch guns right here. Such a beautiful day. Nice view of the harbor.
It's gorgeous. So I was reading that rangefinder thing,
Uh-huh.
and This is fascinating. It said that it is so accurate that it was not replaced in the 1980s when they did the refurb, because it's
Wow.
considered as accurate or
That
more
good?
accurate than what the modern stuff would be, and that is pretty darn impressive.
Like the container ship there, Evermax. Put some thought into that name. And I think that's was that a Royal Caribbean ship right there?
That's a Royal Caribbean in front of us. They've been doing
And then a
lifeboat
Princess back
drills,
there.
and then Princess Ruby is back there.
Yeah. All right, let's go check out the stern. Well, the Vicky, well done, Vicky. Vicky was the ship's mascot. She was belonged to the Iowa's first commanding officer, John McCrae. She was considered a plank owner because she was part of the first commissioning crew. She stayed with President Roosevelt when he crossed the Atlantic inside the Iowa. And as a member of the crew, she was awarded several ribbons. His petty officer first class badge showed a fire hydrant as his rating or specialty. So we got the Iowa storerooms back here. So I guess we've got
Oh wow!
119 days worth of food, weighed 834 tons of food.
9,600 gallons of ice cream. Which I think it's so true.
We consume 7 tons of food a day. So this is the quarters here for the Command Master Chief Petty Officer. He's a senior enlisted person on board the ship. Pretty spacious for shipboard.
I mean, that's nice, all things considered.
This is the kitchen serving area, the galley serving area. So this is where they would prepare, it's not open to the public. This is where they would prepare food for up to 2,500 people several times a day. This is the cooking and serving area right here. It'll never change Navy. It's the ship's bakery. Here we are at the service station. Just some mac and cheese. The electrical lab for the ships. I just love how they tuck things away in like the weirdest corners. There's really no wasted space on here. Meat and vegetable preparation. I go forward into the actual eating area. So this is the enlisted mess deck, or a enlisted mess deck. There were 2 mess compartments. There's a larger one that's a little more forward. Okay. On April 19th, 1989, there was an incident in the number 2 turret of the USS Iowa. It was an explosion, which did kill a number of men. Let me see if I can find I'll get that number later. This is my loading tray. You can see the actual damage that occurred during the explosion. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories, although it should be said that turret explosions are not uncommon on Navy ships, and the museum here had several examples. They had the USS Newport News during Vietnam had a turret explosion. The USS Mississippi had 2 turret explosions, once in 1924 and then again in 1943. And interestingly enough, the first USS Iowa, BB number 4, also had a turret explosion that killed 4 men. There are some conspiracy theories and such involved. We're not going to get into those. We do have some artifacts in here. You can see the amount of damage, just how powerful this explosion was. A nice museum area, and I actually found a new piece of trivia that I had not known before. It is believed that the Iowa would have been the ship selected for the surrender ceremony in Tokyo Bay had FDR lived. But since it was Harry Truman who was president when the Japanese surrendered, the USS Missouri, Truman was from Missouri, was the ship that the surrender was chosen for. I love the little trivia boards. The Iowa was 5 feet, almost 5 feet longer than the Titanic. Each engine on the Iowa produced 53,000 horsepower, or the same as produced by 154 Chevy Corvettes. To run those engines, the Iowa carried 2,582,000 gallons of fuel, which is enough to fill the gas tanks of 129,100 Chevy Corvettes. Americans will literally use anything except the metric system. Okay, we are here on the stern of the ship. Oh, that cruise ship is close. Okay. We do have a little canteen right here. Vicky's Doghouse. See, this area used to have 2 catapults and a large crane for seaplane operations. That was all removed. The catapults were removed between World War II and Korean War. And then the crane was later removed in the 1984 refit. And this was the area was set up as a helicopter pad.
Take a picture, do you guys?
So this is a HUP 2 helicopter. My God, look how old this looks. It's an early tandem helicopter, entered service in 1949. Powered by the same engine that drove Sherman tanks in World War II.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Oh, this design inspired work on the CH-46 Sea Knight. Another dual rotor helicopter.
Sure, everybody knows that.